What's good? I am Yish. You're watching New Leaves on Life. Today is September the 6th, 2018. Interesting turn of observations. First of all, let me cheese. I'll talk about the most recent one. Being present. What does that really mean? For somebody who doesn't know what that means, what does that really mean to stay in the present moment? I mean, it sounds like a spiritual thing, right? To give you the opposite. Worry, rumination. That's where constantly in your head. Being in the present moment means that you're not really worried about anything. You're just interested in what's happening right now. And having issues with being emotionally available means that you have a lot of rumination going on and you're not really present in the moment. But what I've noticed even today, let me get on to it, is that if you stop, this is an adult development thing, if you stop at the moment that you find yourself ruminating, worrying, lost in thought, lost in fantasy, you stop yourself and step out of that and bring yourself back into the present moment, things become so much clearer. I'm not going to say easy. I'm going to say clearer. And I had that today. So briefly, one of my reps, and it's always something that comes down to my job. One of my reps, situation got where she didn't respond to a particular communication. And long story short, I had to defend my rep's position with my boss because the people who had more authority than him were presenting the case or the situation to him as a problem. And I had to present the position to my boss in defending why it was like that. And this is the second time it happened, so it's just that don't make it no better, right? But anyway, I recognized a process flaw. I fixed that process flaw. But as managers and directors go, they're not interested in the nitty-gritty details. They want specifics simplified down to a yes or no situation. Hey, I need you to fix this. I don't need a lot of in between. I just need a simple yes or no. I'll take care of it, right? And that's really how it's supposed to go. But I found myself stepping out of the present moment and ruminating over a passion, right? That people are doing what they're supposed to do. This was simply a misunderstanding. And I had to snap out of it. I had to step out of the rumination, out of the survival mode, what is the better term in this case, and come back into the present moment and realize, okay, all of this extra is not necessary. And it's more work, right? It was more work for me to try to explain and defend the position than having the simple yes or no answers that is being asked of me. And that's actually kind of ridiculous, is that when you ruminate and find yourself trying to defend whatever it is, when that's not even being asked of you, that requires more work than just simply giving a simple answer. It's not always cut and dry like that, but once I got done and realized that I didn't let my survival mode take over, We ended the conversation good, and I left with a good feeling, man. I wish I could say it was really like brimming with joy and elation and excitement, but it's definitely that place where that nurtures that feeling. And if I continue to practice stepping out of the survival mode and into the present moment, I can see where after some time, it's almost as if you're feeding something this energy, trying to get to the core of it, and as you're feeding it, it gets closer and closer to the core until it's then brimming with the feeling of elation and excitement and joy. So that's what I have to do. I have to practice being in the present moment and staying away from survival mode when survival mode is not necessary. Because I run survival mode on everything. Anytime I'm presented with me defending anything up here. So that's part of the plan. But again, I'm an origin person. So I actually realized, at least in a trailhead manner, where this defensiveness is coming from. So in IFS, you have your exiles, you have your protectors. My first and only real IFS session went actually kind of backwards. They typically tell you that you work with the protectors first to get permission to review what the exile is going through and to formulate a plan to release the exile. But we didn't go at it like that. I went straight for the exile, and released that exile, and did nothing with unburdening the protector parts. And this is why it's important to unburden the protector parts, because if you do not unburden the protector parts, they will continue to do the protecting. And that's what's going on here, is I did not unburden the protector parts, particularly in this case, well, both really, but in the case of not being open and letting that freed exile run wild, I didn't unburden the manager that is still holding on and preventing me from being open. It's still deciding to close the door. It's closing the door. And I have to find out which manager part of me that is still continuing to prevent me or prevent my it's still running the program, right? It's still running, even though the exile has been freed, it's still running the program. I need to give it something else to do. I need to find some way to open up and be emotionally available in a safe space. It has to be in a safe space, because if it's not in a safe space, then I run the risk of possibly re-traumatizing the exile part. So it definitely has to be in a safe space. But I most certainly think that it's important to bring this to an IFS session. So I have now at least the trailhead of knowing that I have a manager part that is still burdened with the task of keeping the door shut. Because even today, I thought to myself, and I wrote this in the group, that it would be fun to practice being in the present moment around people. And I've done this before. And just that thought, like I said, is bringing that positive energy, that feel-good energy And it even makes me want to be social around people, like to interact with people. And it's a funny thing, right? I know that I want to be interactive with people, but it has to be in a safe and positive environment, because if there's anything negative, it'll push me back. And I worry about that at home. Now, I speak about the manager part, but I also have some firefighters that are still pretty much running on automatic. And that's a whole nother problem with firefighters, is that they become habits. And habits are sometimes hard to break. But habits are really hard to break when you're still running on the old program. Because the managers see when you may be triggered and stop you from possibly being triggered. The protectors are there when you are triggered. And I'm still triggered. And it's mostly by my wife. Sometimes it's at work, but I'm still triggered. So those supervisors, those protector parts, those firefighters, is what I'm trying to say, are still very much running. Both because it's an automatic thing, and also because it's a habit. And I simply need to change the source of where I get, or where I feed that firefighter need, right? At any rate, yeah, those being aware of the present moment. No. I'm aware of the present moment. Operating in the present moment. In order to not operate under the same program of survival, which my manager part is still operating in. So that's the exchange. And that's if I can find the actual part, if I can put a name on it, and I think that's my goal this the rest of this month, until I can figure it out, is to find out what that part is, put a name on it, and its new job is to operate in the present moment, because there is nothing to operate on in the rumination part of me, in the exiled child part of me. That has been already released. So I need to unburden it, and its new job is to operate in the present moment. And I swear to you folks, as I'm sitting here thinking about operating in the present moment, it is it is gleefully wanted. I can feel it. It's almost as if that part of me, it's as if that part of me, it's not an almost, it is as if that part of me hears what its new job is to do, and it is almost a release. And I swear to you, like right there where it's supposed to happen, things are moving that just don't move like that, and have not moved like that since that IFS therapy session, and has not been a mainstay in my life in over 8 to 9 years now. And it's still difficult when I think about what I have to do to let go. Oh, I gotta let go. But every time I stop myself from ruminating and worrying about whatever the hell I normally let run in my head in these situations when I stop and I think about the fact that I can stop that. And Mel Robbins talks about a 5-second rule. The minute you start worrying, count backwards from 5. And that, she said, the ganglia, I think it was the ganglia, the basal ganglia part of the brain, you interrupt it. And that puts the thought. So the basal, and don't quote me here, I love to talk brain science, so I think the basal ganglia, I don't have a lot of information on that, but the way she's saying is that the basal ganglia part of the brain is responsible for the rumination. So if you're ruminating, you're worrying. So the minute you start ruminating, step out of that into the present moment by counting backwards from 5 to 0, or from 5 to 1, and you interrupt the basal ganglia's trained or programmed program, and that sets your mind then back into the prefrontal cortex, which allows you to have an executive decision based off of reasoning and not based off of memory or based off of a programmed state. I hope y'all following me on that. And so interrupting that negative self-talk is what's called stepping into the present moment, because your prefrontal cortex is what operates in the here and now. It's very slow. It has to reason with what's being received in the eyes and the ears and the nose and the senses. And it takes all of that information from those sensors, and it comes up with whatever is necessary for that particular moment, that present moment. And what can happen is, if the sensors pick up on something that is familiar, is a pattern that is stored already in your subconscious, and you allow that to automatically run, because it's automatic, it's much faster than the prefrontal cortex. So the subconscious, I'm understanding, is part of the basal ganglia part of the brain. So if you let that part take over and you do not change the channel within the first 5 seconds, then you find yourself stuck in rumination and worry and not able to thrive or move past whatever the situation is. But if you allow yourself to snap out of it and get back in the present moment and to live in the prefrontal cortex, which is, it's going to take some time, but this is how you live and operate. This is also how you train the subconscious, right? You don't train the subconscious just blah, blah. You train the subconscious through the prefrontal cortex frequencies or repetitions or patterns of doing things over and over again. I know I'm getting off, but it's kind of exciting just sitting here thinking about the fact that it is the present moment. Staying and practicing and working and moving and living and thriving in the present moment. Practicing that is how you turn off survival mode. Survival mode, you do not need to forget how to do. Matter of fact, you probably won't forget. There will be moments where survival mode will be necessary. If right now, in this gas station, somebody runs across the gas station parking lot here and is shooting a gun at somebody, survival mode will need to kick in to get me up, hightail up out of this place. All right? That's the necessary need to have survival mode running. But it's not necessary if there's no threat. There's no need for my mind to think about what I need to do in such a manner that it causes me to feel threatened when it's not necessary for me to feel that way. So I have to practice turning that off and being in the present moment. That's it. Shut up now. You've been watching New Leafs on Life. I am Yish. Have a good day.